Hello. Hi.
Yes, sir. Welcome to the 5 Minute League, sir. Really honored to have you on board for an
It's
interview.
fine. It's fine.
So
How are
to
you?
take out time on a Sunday evening is genuinely means a lot to us.
It's fine. वैसे भी vacations are on, so
So to start with, I'll just give a brief introduction about you. You've done your law schooling, you've been an intern, you've been a legal journalist, which I believe is quite unique, and then you've started your own practice. Sir, how has the journey been? And one question which I wanted to ask you since I've been following your coverage through Bar and Bench. Sir, how does this legal world seem, I mean, from the perspective of a journalist? Is there any difference that of a law student or an advocate?
see, I joined legal journalism just after this pandemic
Mm-hmm.
was here in India.
Yes.
So mostly I wasn't there in courts,
Mm-hmm.
but I covered like mainly Uttar Pradesh,
Okay.
mainly the Allahabad High Court, the Sessions Court, and the Lucknow bench of
Mm-hmm.
Allahabad High Court, and sometimes also in rare circumstances maybe Delhi or Supreme Court.
Okay.
So it was a different experience. Like for someone who's just graduating from law school,
Mm-hmm.
it would be very like what you get in like 7 to 8 years of practice.
Okay.
Not practice as such, like if you want to get into this field,
Mm-hmm.
legal journalism is a very good opportunity to know how the court functions,
Okay.
especially at a time when everything was switching from mainstream to a virtual world,
Virtual. Yeah.
like when the COVID came, and like it was really impossible in the next 10 to 15 years that everything would be virtual.
Mm-hmm.
But thanks to this virus, the only thing that was positive, that everything changed
True.
from, like if someone is joining the, like if someone wants to go into legal journalism,
Mm-hmm.
then it's a very good option. And the unfortunate thing is that most of the law schools are not promoting this.
Exactly, sir. Sir, how did you? I'll use the word brave here because we are accustomed to go into litigation or corporate. The
Hmm.
moment we enter law school, no one even tries to think out of the box कि कोई और employment का source भी हो सकता है, or we might be a better employee to a different industry than to just litigation or corporate. Sir, in these times you decided to go into journalism. Sir, if I were to say even I am interested in it, but there's
Hmm.
no support from the college or from the community. So how does a student figure out?
See, for me, it was like since the beginning of my law school,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure like whether I want to go into litigation, judiciary,
Mm-hmm.
because now it has all become a process.
Okay.
Like because half of the schools, like if we talk about NLUs,
Uh-huh.
70 to 80% are focused on corporate jobs.
Corporates, true.
There are people who are definitely joining litigation,
Mm-hmm.
but most of the crowds are like running towards corporate world and mainly towards these companies. So, like I graduated from Aligarh Muslim University.
Mm-hmm.
The after doing my schooling from La Martiniere,
Mm-hmm.
that was a totally different background.
Okay.
For me, that college gave me everything
Uh-huh.
from like various different cultures, people from Kerala, West Bengal, Uttar Pradesh,
Mm-hmm.
from like most of the cities and most of the states. So that moment was also like it also depends how you see, how the perspective about the profession revolves around you, right?
Okay.
So if you're going into a college which is mainly focused on corporate,
Mm-hmm.
there might be chances that you might be tilted towards going into a law firm or
Mm-hmm.
maybe joining commercial litigation later on. But my focus was on writing. Like I still remember in my second year, I think my first dirty draft was for, there was this website at that time, Youth Ki Awaaz.
Uh-huh.
It is still there,
It is
but
still
that
there.
helped me a lot
Mm-hmm.
because what they do at that time, they used to take your draft, then
Mm-hmm.
review it, then publish it.
Okay.
So that was a very good platform at that point of time. Then I started writing. In fourth year, I got published in Outlook. So
Mm-hmm.
that like, you have to concentrate on the outcome, not on the process.
Okay.
In these things, like most of the people these days are most concerned about whether their articles or their stories should be published.
So exactly.
Rather than that, you should focus on the process.
Okay.
Like if you're doing a story, just do it, just write it, and then after that, you think about where it will be published or where you can give it for
ट्रू सब
publication.
पर्सपेक्टिव ही ऐसा हो गया है कि आप लिखते ही पब्लिश करने के लिए हो ना कि लिखने
हाँ.
के बाद सोचते हो कि मुझे पब्लिश करना चाहिए कि नहीं. There's a difference here, I believe.
Yes.
Sir, taking cue from what you answered and seeing the numerous books you have in your bookshelf, sir, how important is it for law students to read?
See, reading is very important, but I
Mm-hmm.
won't say that you read a lot, you read every book. See, every book has its own like core area. Like for example, I've been reading few books, and half of my books are not completed yet.
Okay.
But like for example, there was this book by Gautam Bhatia, Transformative Constitution.
Hmm.
That helped me a lot in writing many of the articles. There was this book, Courtroom Genius by
नानी पाल की वाली.
Courtroom Genius about Nani Palkewala. So there are certain books which everyone should go through. Like if you are like interested in knowing the legal background of the country,
Mm-hmm.
one must like there's this small book, 10 Important Judgment which shaped India, something like that. Yes, yes. So these are the basic book one should definitely go through. And like I like happen to be not gone into the cart of fiction books.
Uh-huh.
My grandfather definitely loves it,
Mm-hmm.
but fiction books are also somehow important to grow that tendency of like if you're in courtroom you want to create that background or some kind of storytelling.
Story.
For that it is very important. So, like, yes, you must read books. You must read whatever comes to your cart. If you're doing an article on maybe something equality, then you for that you can go to various aspects like equality in terms of Nalsa judgment, where
Mm-hmm.
the third gender was recognized.
True.
After that, you can go to how the term equality has been expanded, even by the courts, even by many legislations.
Mm-hmm.
So depends on that. Like if you want to, there's this book by Rohit Day, People's Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
That is also very like comprehensive book on how a common man has tried or attempted to contribute to this shaping of the Indian Constitution, plus how he has been using it. So there are various books one can read, and one should definitely read.
Sir, in these times, like I'm a law student who will be entering my final year. Sir, we feel quite restrictive when it comes to employment options. But eventually, when I researched more into litigation, I realized that there are very different things on board, like judicial clerks per se, etc., etc. So, sir, why do you think is that is the what can be the reason for us to be so restrictive in terms of deciding our career options? That litigation मतलब कोर्ट में जाना ही होता है या फिर आर्ग्यू करना ही होता है या फिर आपको शुरुआत में तो बहुत कम सैलरी मिलेगी. How would you sustain? Sir, all of these questions I believe block us from actually entering the profession.
See, deciding your profession is definitely a very tough task for a law student
Mm-hmm.
because now every law college is producing so many students. Everyone has to go into the profession. Everyone has their own anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
But before, I think for like if you're doing 3 years or 5 years,
5 years.
for these 3 or 5 years, just explore. Don't think
Okay.
about which profession or which side you want to choose.
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest that one should definitely try as an option to go into legal journalism.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not legal journalism, then go and work as a researcher.
Mm-hmm.
But don't jump the barrack directly like some people. Just try to, like, they see the longer aspect of litigation. Because if you mainly you'll see many of the lawyers are very successful today. They get so much of like respect. They earn so much, but
Mm-hmm.
that is because of the standing and the patience which they
Which
had
they had.
for
True.
like
Very true.
15 to 20 years minimum. So if you want to like take the wheel going, then take a step. Like if you want to start with legal journalism, then start writing for
Mm-hmm.
various portals. Don't limit yourself. Write for
Understood.
everyone, then contribute. Then try to understand why legal reporting is important. Because before, what happened, like before 2012, when around that time, no one knew that what bench is it,
Hmm.
what court is it. So earlier, people just used to see, okay, the matter is being heard before the Supreme Court. The outcome would be known as this court has passed this order.
Mm-hmm.
Now everything is changed. Even during the COVID-19 times, the court and the people, the connectivity was so close that especially like voters like Bar and Bench Live Law,
Hmm.
they tried that everyone should know what's happening inside the court. Even especially if you like if you belong from a category, if you're like specially abled, then
Mm-hmm.
it would be very beneficial for you to like access these hearings, and if you want to appear from like your office, you
Mm-hmm.
cannot access the court, then it would be definitely a good option for you.
Very true, sir.
So I must say that,
I mean, sir,
huh,
what I think is that all of this should be catered towards in the law school itself. It is via these interviews or via opinions of different people on social media that we learn that these are also certain options which we can explore eventually. But this tradition of us having this 5 year course, sir, which brings me to my next question. Sir, you graduated in 2020. Today it's 2023 and I am entering my final year. Sir, right now when you look back, do you think that we need certain alterations in this 5 year long course? Is it necessary to keep it 5 years long, or can we reduce it? And I mean, are all the subjects important or certain subjects can be replaced? So what do you think when you look back?
see, 5 years law course is actually idea
Mm-hmm.
what was the original idea was to make you study everything,
Okay.
including the bachelor's plus law.
Hmm.
What we are getting now, like especially what I experienced in my law school,
Mm-hmm.
that the main subject of the bachelor's, like even economics or maybe history, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe you're studying some subjects, that should be made of like that should be altered in terms
Okay.
of we can rather focus on how these subjects are directly connected to law. We
Mm-hmm.
can put one subject on like the assembly debates which we had,
True.
so we can alter it in that sense. First 2 years we can study about the historical aspect, the jurisprudence,
Mm-hmm.
how things like there's a series on YouTube. I think
Samvidhan.
every law student should watch what is the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's by Michael Sandel.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay.
So that actually shows how jurisprudence should be taught in law schools.
Mm-hmm.
Like in India, the concept is really like if you ask someone like jurisprudence, it's a very boring subject and
Hmm.
it's very so actually the concept and the grand norm is somehow not really fixed in a way that people are taking interest. So one should definitely try to like even the law school should try to alter the syllabus in such a way that there should be options for the student also. If someone wants to go into legal journalism, then maybe there can be a subject or
Subject.
maybe
An
there can
elective.
be elective for those like those who are currently legal reporters can come and give some oversight for the
Mm-hmm.
fact how reporting is done and why this reporting thing is important for the like transparency in court
Mm-hmm.
proceedings and everything. So there can be alterations, there can be modifications, and this like traditional approach should go away.
True, sir. Very true. Sir, when a law student actually enters his fourth or fifth year, sir, we often feel that we've missed out on certain publications, we've missed out on certain competitions, opportunities, etc. Sir, once a person becomes an advocate or graduates, sir, do all of these things matter a lot, or are these things just a fad which comes in the law school because others are doing it?
See, it depends on you. Like if even I've seen people who not even pursue masters
Mm-hmm.
and they're doing really well. And there's this I don't know, there's this myth that everyone should do LLM just after the LLB.
LLB.
So I've seen most of the people just running after LLM
Mm-hmm.
just for the fact that because they don't know what to do. And that actually, I was having a conversation with a lawyer in Delhi.
Mm-hmm.
So he told me that LLM should be your vacation,
Okay.
not, like once you are done with the practice or you learn something, then
Mm-hmm.
you should go out and you should search in which field you want to do. Like for instance, if you want to pursue your master's in rehabilitation, you
Mm-hmm.
can do it on right to shelter in India. That's a very debatable topic, and you can like search around how this right works all around the world. Because like in India, it's a fundamental right for sure, but there are instances where this right comes into the play, then the reasonable restrictions are
Also
like
imposed.
take the upper hand. So like you should definitely try to figure out what exactly you want to do and where do you want to do this study. Like maybe you want to pursue it in the constitutional
Foreign.
field,
Okay.
maybe,
Mm-hmm.
so that time should be spent, and these 5 years or maybe 3 years should be spent in such a way that you should get an idea of the fact that what will you be doing. Like maybe in something in criminal, maybe something in constitutional
Constitution.
law.
Mm-hmm.
So that depends on your own perspective because people in college or maybe some professors are very good, but
Mm-hmm.
half of them just push you towards judiciary. And this trend of like uh, spending years in preparation for judiciary, then after like joining back into practice, then maybe doing LLM, that's actually giving most of the students a sense of anxiety. Even like I've seen my juniors, they're just struggling with the fact that whether we should do LLM, whether we should join some practice, and half of them never knew that legal journalism was also an option.
Option, true.
So that should also be added as a like maybe career option. I've seen many legal journalists doing really amazing. They're like somehow connected very well with the courts, and if you want to practice, then you can switch later on.
And
So
sir,
that's
you having a background of, I believe, legal journalism has helped you, or has had a catalytic effect in you becoming an advocate eventually, because you knew courts. You when you were actually pursuing those matters in the courts, you knew how they function. So I believe if any person who wants to enter into litigation, legal journalism would actually give them a boost in.
definitely see connection, legal journalism plus profession, everything's aside, but in your practice,
Mhm.
what matters is your merit and your connections and how you try to build your own personality.
Okay.
Like in a very raw statement,
Mm-hmm.
it's like how you try to make your own business strategy to keep yourself moving. Apart from everything, like legal journalism gives you
Mm-hmm.
is a sense of identity which you have to make yourself. Like in legal journalism, when I was in bar and bench,
Mm-hmm.
I mostly focus on stories which like uh, might be useful for people like who are reading it. Like there was this interview of a widow whose husband like died because of manual scavenging,
Mm-hmm.
and there was also this case where Judge Uttam Anand was shot, like he was on for a morning walk,
Morning walk, yeah, I
and
remember. Mm.
so like these stories I did at that time. So these are some of the stories which I remember were really well, and after that, like you should do some reports which might change the like. Recently, there was a report by reporter Aisha Arvind from Bar and Bench
Mm-hmm.
about the facilities of ladies' toilet in Madurai bench, I think in
Mm-hmm.
Madras. So that actually the Supreme Court directed the High Court and sought a detailed report. So definitely, like you can make an like impact once you're in the system. So yes, definitely it does boost everything up.
Sir, coming to my next question, sir, as a student, I believe even you have had felt this initially, or in amidst your schooling, that getting internships has now become very difficult. It has now become a more of a rewarding process. By hook or by crook, people are just trying to get into a firm or a senior's chamber, etc., etc. Sir, in these times, sir, as an advocate, what would you recommend us as students as to is it really very important to get that internship, or even if you do it in a chamber which is not very well known or does not come into the tier system, it is all right. I mean, it wouldn't matter much.
See, I'm young enough to like I haven't been well equipped in the system, but one thing I want to say is that
Mm-hmm.
internships does matter when you spend a ample of time in
Okay.
an office. Like in 1 month or maybe 21 days, you cannot learn anything.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, even if you're working with a lawyer who's working in T. Cesari,
Mm-hmm.
and even if you're working with a person who's an advocate on record or maybe a senior advocate in the
Mm-hmm.
Supreme Court, you can learn in both of the chambers, but depends on you how much you want to take. Like tendency is growing that like definitely CV and doing some fancy internships won't make any difference in the longer run, because ultimately it is you who wants like who will learn, or maybe who will learn the process,
Mm-hmm.
who will try to like know how the proceedings of the court works.
Work.
Like
Mm-hmm.
there are people who are taking hundreds of interns, but like at one go you cannot teach those 100 people what you can teach one or two people in 6 months.
Very true, sir. Mm-hmm.
So that you can definitely like if you want to intern, you can intern anywhere. Every advocate or every lawyer is doing something for like every lawyer is learning something new every day.
Mm-hmm.
So it should not be the perspective that working under a lawyer who's working at Supreme Court is more like
Helpful,
meritorious.
yeah, no,
So one can definitely try, and even in the initial years, one should not go to like senior advocates or maybe judges for internships. One should definitely join these committees who are working in the High Court, maybe some legal aid cells, which can definitely give you the idea how everything works on ground.
True, sir. This is something which, sir, I'll be honest with you. When we talk about internships amidst our peers, one thing is that you did not get one in trilegal or you did not get one in Khaitan, etc. And then it becomes a bit pressurizing as to how do you get it. Then you contact your uncles, your aunties. They try to get you in, etc., etc. But eventually, that 21-day internship or 1 month internship only remains on LinkedIn. Nothing actually substantial comes out of it. And to be honest, sir, all of this eventually becomes a bit traumatizing because those who get it are on a different level, and those who don't get it, they feel that we haven't got it yet, and what will happen to us? Our CV does not have a tier one name. But of what I mean, of what you've said right now, it really does not matter. What matters is that you know work. If you do not know
Definitely.
work, and I mean,
See, like whether it is any law firm, whether it is any big shot company, whether it is any chamber,
mm-hmm,
like when I was in law school, like every law school has its own demerits and every cons.
true.
So there was this concept of nepotism which exists everywhere.
Mm-hmm,
So at that time we used to get a CGPA. Like every semester you get some
hmm,
marks, you get some grades. So there were certain people who used to get like around 9.8 maybe, around
mm-hmm,
9.7 maybe. So that was not merit. That was something which they would definitely regret later on in life. But I personally knew this friend of mine who
mm-hmm,
came from a village in Uttar Pradesh, and he used to work really hard. He used to work day and night. He used to love constitution law. But after third year, when he realized that his CGPA cannot go above 7,
mm-hmm,
and some people are getting 9,
mm-hmm,
despite of the fact they're not working as hard as him.
mm-hmm,
So that time the merit gets down, and he like gives up the hope.
true.
Once you try to work on yourself,
Mm-hmm.
that is the part when you can get a good maybe office, maybe a law firm. If you're getting anything through connection or maybe you know someone, that is good. You can, maybe you are hardworking, you can definitely get a place.
Mhm,
But if someone is not working hard enough for what he is there for, or
mhm,
she is there for, or they are there for, then it's not worth. And one should not definitely, like most of the companies are saying that we'll only take students from
an end
NLUs,
user,
maybe from those universities which are very
renowned.
recognized,
Hmm.
renowned. So that should not be the procedure. You cannot discriminate against law students that one should be like a student from a national university. I've seen students like most of the judges of the Supreme Court are from CLC. So
Delhi.
that is also like now people have stopped working on themselves. Like there should be this idea of like hard work plus patience. This profession
Profession.
definitely requires patience. If you don't have patience, then you can definitely cross the bar by jumping from here to there. But
Mhm.
ultimately, you will be in such a gray area that you won't be able to find out what exactly you want to do.
Very true, sir. Sir, this word patience brings me to my next question. Sir, whenever we law students try to figure out our profession, sir, one thing which deters us from joining litigation is the pay which we get initially and the time one has to take. And thirdly, the most important sentence कि तेरे फादर या तेरे मदर लॉयर नहीं है, तेरे फैमिली में कोई लॉयर नहीं है, तू फर्स्ट जनरेशन लॉयर है, etc. And sir, I mean, you'll be shocked to hear this, but out of 10 people in my college, 7 of them would want to go into litigation, but only 2 of them go. The 5 do not because of these questions. So, sir, are these questions the reality, or I mean, with time, all of these questions get answered and you genuinely excel if you are destined to, if I may say so?
See, pay in this profession depends on how much you are willing to like
Put in.
rub yourself.
Mm-hmm.
it's a myth that young lawyers don't get paid or this or that. So the myth not that they're getting paid, but
Mm-hmm.
if you work hard enough, like it's more about how much you're giving it to yourself. It's an investment. If you're working for 2 years
Mm-hmm.
without expecting anything, from the third year you will be getting
Okay.
something which is stable. It's
Mm-hmm.
not that you should like work for like 12 hours, 16 hours without any pay. That is
Mm-hmm.
also
Not
that's
correct.
less than even like if these people are working for 16. I've seen people working for hours and hours without any pay. That
Mm-hmm.
is also nothing but harassment and exploitation
True, very
if
true.
you're getting someone. So one thing which one should focus on, you can definitely get your pay,
Mm-hmm.
but that should be not only restricted to practice. People often like forget the fact that the area of litigation is very wide.
Mm-hmm.
You can work on you can writing is also a good like you can definitely get some pay if you write around, if you focus on notices. So
Mm-hmm.
you can make your own way into the profession, and side by side you can focus on what exactly you want to do. Like for example, if you want to go into criminal,
Mm-hmm.
then you can focus on that. Don't run from here to there. Definitely you can do whatever comes for you. Like you cannot choose in the beginning that I'll do this, I'll do that.
Only. Hmm.
You definitely have to make a field in which you have to work, or in which you have to like expertise.
Mm-hmm.
Because in India there are so many lawyers, there are so many chambers, there are so many offices. Then you have to give them a reason why they should come to you.
Mm-hmm.
So that should be the aim initially. And if someone wants to join litigation, then definitely there are offices who are not as bad as most of them. There are offices which will pay them not
Mm-hmm.
that much, but an amount which in which they can sustain. So definitely in this profession, you definitely need a mentor also. A mentor is also very important because once you're misguided by someone,
Mm-hmm.
then you will just flowing away into the drain.
Sir, coming to that, one question which I had specifically for the people I'm interviewing who are into litigation is that, sir, some time back there was a scheme which was being boasted by advocates that we should have a national stipend structure or something like that, which also got implemented in Karnataka or Tamil Nadu, if I'm not wrong, for advocates. Sir, so what do you think? Is this something which can materialize in future, or is it just that this support would even deteriorate the situation of what advocates are in right now?
See, this scheme is actually like it can be done, it cannot be done
Mm-hmm.
because every state has its own
Structure.
policy,
Mm-hmm.
and this regulates around how the bar is.
Acha,
Like
okay.
if the bar is good, if the bar association is good, if the
Mm-hmm.
people who are running it are good,
Mm-hmm.
then definitely if the scheme is implemented, then young people will be
Encouraged.
joining the
Mm-hmm.
joining the profession. If there is certain amount like even or 10, 15,000 rupees,
Mm-hmm.
if there is a cap of this amount, and
Mm-hmm.
then young people are joining, then definitely they think that there is some financial stability.
True.
Like even like now, if you go to any of the bar councils, you'll have to pay around 20, 25,000.
Just registration and enroll.
Like this is actually a very vague procedure for those like who are coming from a very low background, who don't even have any background as
Mm-hmm.
such in litigation, or not very financially stable. Then for them, not even in the words of finance, like in terms of financially stable,
Mm-hmm.
but why should one give so much money to a bar association or a bar council to like get oneself enrolled?
Enrolled. Very true, sir. Hmm.
So after spending 5 years in college, then you'll be getting some, you'll be giving some amount
Mm-hmm.
without any expectations, without any financial stability. Like I think that there's also a case pending before the Supreme Court where the
Okay.
court has asked them like the amount of rupees which
Mm-hmm.
different states are taking. So this amount should also be restructured in such a way that everyone can afford it.
True, sir.
Not only like those people who can definitely pay, but there should be a sense of equality in the profession with regard to enrollment also.
Very true, sir. If people are deterred from enrolling, what is the logic of them doing this 5-year course? If they are, I mean, this is not even an investment. This is just a fee. There's no return after this. I mean, nothing of guarantee. True, sir. Sir, when we talk about litigation or when we talk about these different aspects around it, sir, one question which I mean I'm here, I wanted to ask you is that is it necessary that one has to become a junior for these many years under a senior? I mean, there is this structure which has been made traditionally, nowhere written, but still, if you want to go into litigation, you have to do juniorship for 5 years, 7 years, then you take over eventually in your early 30s. And sir, now we see some lawyers breaking this off and just starting their own practice straight out of law school or after gaining some experience. So, what are your comments on this?
See, like I've seen people who are working for 10 years in an office,
Mm-hmm.
then starting their own practice. I've seen people who just completed law school,
Mm-hmm.
starting their own practice. Actually, everything depends on your resources
Okay.
and how much you can sustain. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you have clients, if you have maybe a financial backup, then
Mm-hmm.
you can definitely go independent. But going independent is not the solution. Like for that, you definitely have to. Most of the people who are working for 5 years in a chamber
Uh-huh.
don't work there just for the fact that they'll get clients.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because of the fact that they should be associated with the chamber later on. So that is also important to get associated with a good chamber, a
Okay.
good senior who can definitely help you around in
Mm-hmm.
building your
Guide
practice.
you. Mm-hmm.
This guiding factor is actually very important. I'm not sure whether every state has it.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely in Allahabad and Lucknow, it's very not, it's very low in terms of like training the younger advocates.
Mm-hmm.
Because the problem in Lucknow and Allahabad is the ratio of districts.
Mm-hmm.
Lucknow only has 12 to 14 districts,
Okay.
and Allahabad has around 60.
Mm-hmm.
So that is also an issue. There are many issues if you're joining the practice. So one should definitely aim for what exactly are you here for. One, if you have financial backup and you have clients
Mm-hmm.
and you have a sense of security, then you can definitely go for it. Some people, what they are doing now, they are just getting together as a group. They're going independent.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're helping each other. In
Mm-hmm.
like maybe one is working in criminal field, one
Another
is
in
working.
taxation.
So, like everyone has their own perspective, but the best is to work with a senior, get some guidance for some time, then try to build your own practice.
Mm-hmm. Understood, sir. So now, as we're in, I mean, nearing the end of this interview, and I've already taken 30 minutes of your Sunday evening, sir, one thing which we students, when we enter internships, feel is that we do not know the basic qualities of how to work in a particular atmosphere. For example, knowing how to use Word thoroughly, or knowing how to maneuver on SCC online or Manupatra per se. All of these things are not taught to us in law schools, but these are something which are very basic when we go into any area of practice. So, sir, what would you suggest as these basic qualities which one student should garner besides the existing curriculum which they are following?
See, one subject should be on research.
Hmm.
In every law school, how research is done, they should definitely teach how to work on Manupatra, how to work on
Hmm.
SEC. They should get an access to live law or bar and bench. So definitely these are the basic resources which every law school should have. I think in a legal also in the fourth year or third year they got us the access for everything.
Uh,
After the students made some requests, after the some applications were given,
hmm.
so it is for the students to bring change from within.
True.
It is
True.
not only the
Admin.
administration which
Hmm.
is to be expected, because I know in my law school there were many things which were really irregular, like from nepotism to many things which like basic things like SEC online subscription,
Hmm.
all these subscriptions, it wasn't there. Then it was because of the students who requested, protested, and then
Hmm.
ultimately something positive came out. So definitely, if you think that there should be there something should be there in the syllabus, something should be added, modified, then definitely students should ask for it rather than just sitting and expecting that the administration would do. Because sometimes it is better to ask rather than like sit back and
Take
expect.
your right than to demand his own. True, sir. So, last question which I would have for you is What is that one message which you want to give to law students right now from your perspective of what you've experienced? And I mean, if a person is in his or her second year, third year, and if they are to plan out the rest of the years in a manner in which it might be more productive, not to actually dictate the terms, but to just give them an indication that these are the things which you can do, which I did not. So what would be your answer?
See, definitely you should read.
Mm-hmm.
You should start writing without expecting that the your story or article will be published. Start writing for yourself
Okay.
and start questioning, because questioning is the basic need of this profession. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to ask questions, read without any discrimination, read everything, whether you like it, whether you don't like
Right.
it, you should know everything. Thirdly, focus on trial courts, because if you want to intern, then go and see how the trial court works,
Mm-hmm.
how the because these are the real courts which are called people's courts,
True.
where the people directly go there.
True.
People definitely go to high court, supreme court, doing fancy internships, but you should definitely spend your first, second, third year in like maybe district courts, then after you can switch to higher courts. And definitely apart from all this, don't forget what you love. Like I used to love photography, and I
Mm-hmm.
did. So take out time for your own hobby. Try to mix it with your profession. Like if you want to, maybe I used to love like capturing stories which are maybe based outside the courtrooms, outside the corridor of the courts.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like you should be having that sense of interest within you if you want to go in this field. Also try
True.
to start your career or maybe give a shot to legal journalism,
Mm-hmm.
because it is a good field. Once you get into it, you have your own identity, you have your own space, you can make some change, you can definitely go out, meet people, build connections.
Sir,
So
carrying
that
on from sorry, sir.
Hmm.
Sir, if
Then,
one was to go into legal journalism, what are the sir? Because right now, obviously bar and bench would offer internships, live law would offer internships. But sir, if you could just give an indicative procedure as to how can one actually start or develop interest into this field.
see, interns working there is very dependent on your writing skills.
Okay.
Like if you keep writing for someone,
Mm-hmm.
if you keep a tab on how what is happening in courts, what is happening, how many judgments are there. If you try to approach them for their articles, for maybe writing, then they themselves might ask you sometime, because they also want someone who is very dedicated in writing in the profession with related to code.
Mm-hmm.
So don't seek for a job just because you want to do it.
Okay.
Just build your own interest in that
Mm-hmm.
field and then go. Like start writing from your third year
Mm-hmm.
about various judgments, do an analysis, make your own opinion about what was the judgment about, whether it was wrong,
Mm-hmm.
whether it was right, and then keep writing to them. And definitely they'll one day they'll ask you, or you can definitely mail and ask them,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm interested for this position and I've been writing on these issues. So it's really like for me, it was like when I was covering a case in Lucknow.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, they asked me about whether I'll be interested or not. So at that time, I was writing regularly for various portals. So it was like that only. Keep yourself involved. Keep yourself uh, into writing, and definitely you'll get a shot.
Thank you so much, sir. With this, we come to the end of this interview. It genuinely means a lot to have you on board, owing to your interesting and unique personality of being a legal journalist, which seldom do people choose in these times. But after this interview, whoever hears it, including me, will definitely give it a shot because now we realize that it is worth giving a shot. With this, thank you so much. It means a lot. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
joining.
Thank you.